You were out on the trail with Jeb Bush, John Ellis Bush, when he made his comments today on the fourth consecutive day in a row, trying to figure out how to answer the questions about the Iraq War. Just talk to us about that event, what the atmospherics were like. Set the scene for us.
Sure. This was supposed to be a standard campaign-style event, a local brewery in Tempe, Arizona, that was supposed to be a platform for Jeb to talk about small businesses, regulation, innovation. But this Iraq question was actually literally hanging over Jeb today. He came out of his tour, spoke to about a crowd of about 100, Chamber of Commerce type folks. There's a TV up on in the corner with the View on. We couldn't hear the sound, but it turns out they were actually talking on the View about Jeb's answer in Iraq. So he goes through his whole, a pretty normal 10-minute stump speech, and then at the end of it says, before I go, I want to add one more thing, and gives his explanation. It was a little bit abrupt. It was a little awkward. The crowd again was sort of giving each other glances while he sort of walked through his explanation here.
Mike, we've all been talking to the Bush folks, trying to get a sense of why he's been giving these series of answers this week. What do you know about how he arrived at today's answer after the three previous false starts?
Yeah, I mean, he got worn down on this. It was, as you've been talking about, as I wrote on Bloomberg, politics.com, this is a hard issue for him broadly on the family. He doesn't want, which is twofold here. He doesn't want to appear disloyal, and he doesn't want to open up this rabbit hole of being compared to his brother on every single issue. I think those are fair to a degree, but I also wonder whether or not he's a little bit more sensitive to appearing disloyal to his brother than even his brother is.
Mike, do you think at this point, I mean, it seemed to me, listening to that answer, and I'm interested, it's fascinating to hear that he was not answering a question here. He came out and said, yeah. He basically he introduced this topic, right? And he gave that little speech that he gave. It seemed to me like he was trying to put a bow around a ribbon around it and kind of take in everything that's happened over the last 4 days and put it to rest. So does the Bush team think this is now over?
They think it's over for now, and I think that's probably right, but it's not going away. Democrats are having a conference call right now to talk to reporters and to criticize Bush's positions on this, to tie him to his brother. This will come back up with his rivals within the Republican presidential field. We'll see it come up in debates. I mean, we clearly have an area here where, as you guys were talking about before, this is Jeb Bush's whole claim to the Republican crown here is that he is the leader. He is the most experienced. He's got the record, and he's not going to be flip-flopping on issues. We see here this is an issue where he can, he can be pushed off a message.
All right, Mike Bender, thank you for talking to us from Phoenix. Stay cool out there. We'll talk to you soon. Let's go now down to our Washington bureau and get Albert Reinhold Hunt Jr. in on this action. Al, Mike was just talking about, giving some analysis about why he thinks Jeb Bush is struggling so much with this question. You, wise man, insightful man, Freudian psychoanalyst that you are, why do you think Jeb Bush is struggling so much with this question?
Well, I agree with what you all said earlier. He's rusty, he fumbled and all that, but I think the problem is actually much deeper. And that is that he basically believes in his brother's national security record. And I think if you look at the advisors he signed on, they're W's advisors. If you look at the Chicago speech he gave on foreign policy, he started off, the predicate was, I'm my own man, but not a single policy difference. And John, I think that his dad's foreign policy record looks better all the time, but most Americans think that George W. Bush's foreign policy was a colossal disaster, and very few people this side of Dick Cheney want a reprise.
Al, it's easy within a campaign to react in the press and pull chatter in class to the events of the day or even the week. In the long arc of Jeb Bush's quest to be president, what's the significance of what happened this week on Iraq?
As I think, Mark, he basically has the same foreign policy views as his brother, and he can't differentiate substantively, not just saying I'm my own man. I think that is a far greater problem than whether he fumbled on Monday or Tuesday of this week.
Is it a problem getting the nomination, or just if he gets to be the nominee in the general?
I think it's a problem for both. It was instructive the way all the other Republicans jumped on him in this. I mean, they just cringed. The Democrats were salivating, but it wasn't just the donor class, which you cited earlier, But the other candidates said, man, is this an opportunity to go after him? I mean, who really among us, other than Dick Cheney, says if we know what we know now, we'd go and we'd do it again, and now even to say it was justified. It's just awfully hard to make that case when you see what a total debacle Iraq has become.
You know, John, it's one of the things that's hurt him this week is every other Republican in the race feels like their path to nomination is stronger if they can get Jeb weak or out of the race. Yeah. And so there's very little sniping against anybody else. Everybody wants Jeb out. I
mean, look, he's the piñata, right? And people have seen the weakness that's been shown on certain issues like immigration and Common Core. They've seen the weak poll numbers in Iowa, the okay but not fantastic poll numbers in New Hampshire. He looks like a paper tiger to a lot of these guys, and so the instinct to pile on is irresistible, and it's crowding out any other conversation in the party right now. It's a bad place to be. It's one of the perils of being even a pseudo frontrunner.
Al, inside the Bush campaign, do you think they hope it doesn't come up again? They're happy to leave it where he left it today? Or do you think they'll look for another opportunity to give a better answer than that?
Mark, I don't know, but I strongly suspect that they'd like to stay away from this issue as long as they possibly can. They probably won't be able to stay away